The reason I'm doing this is because Kelly's amazing and she needs help and she needs to be able to talk about what her. Can you all hear me, by the way? Can you give me like thumbs up that you guys can hear me and stuff? Uh, Yay!
Hi.
I love.
Hi.
How you doing? My
Yeah.
headphones aren't working, so I'm just going to put them away. How you doing? I was
Yeah, I'm
just
good,
about
thank
to.
you.
I was just about to explain to everybody why we're doing this. And so when I had epilepsy when I was little. Um, from the age of about 6 months, I had my first seizure, and then was put on medication up to about the age of. I had my last seizure when I was 8 or 9, and then came off my meds when I was like early teens. And then the reason we met is because I was asked to make this little film for the One Show for young epilepsy, who I know are a charity that you have worked with, have been part of, have got a relationship with. And we were very lucky to meet through that, yourself and your wonderful son, Cash, who
Yeah.
just having a horrendous time, Kelly, isn't he? Tell me where we are with Cash and his epilepsy
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so Cash got diagnosed 5 years ago. So he's actually been having focal seizures for 7 years. Where we're at in his treatment is it's verging on 14 treatments now. So that's including anti-epileptic medications, the keto diet, and a new supplement that was brought out, I think, a couple of years ago called K-Vita, which contains MCT oil, so mimics kind of the same as what keto diet does.
mm-hmm.
So he's tried all of these treatments and we still don't have any seizure control. A couple of months back, he had a month seizure free, which is the first time in 7 years. So we were really like excited and hopeful, but we're kind of back to the beginning. So yeah, he's just having a bit of a rough time. We're struggling to find a solution for him, and I think it's really important to talk about this because not many people realize that actually there's a lot of children suffering with epilepsy and they don't have seizure control. It is drug resistant, so they're running out of options for treatment, so they're just kind of stuck in limbo. So
Well, it sounds like, from us kind of chatting over the last few weeks and stuff and being kind of really aware of when you were posting about things is that you're kind of being passed from pillar to post. There's no one that you can turn to that is there to kind of guide you through what are the options, what's the next step that we can take, or this is a specialist that you need to go and see, or this is something that might be kind of, it might not be widely available, but it's worth us trying it in a way. There's nobody or a place that you can go that can offer you that help and advice and assistance.
yeah, I just think there's not enough out there. So obviously Cash is lucky in that he has his main epilepsy team, but he's also under specialist care with two other hospitals who have epilepsy specialists there. So we get information from snippets from everybody, but it's just what's available to us. And a lot of other parents who have children with epilepsy will say it's kind of like making a cocktail. You're just kind of trial and error and you never know what's going to work. The issue is obviously there's a lot of NHS waiting time, so there are certain avenues that we could explore, but it's taking, for example, Cash is on the waiting list at the minute for a surgery pathway to see if brain surgery is an option for him. But to get to know whether if the brain surgery is option for him, we need to have certain number of investigations, and they're just not happening because the NHS can't fulfill them. So we are really stuck. So we've waited for a video telemetry where they admit Cash onto the hospital ward, reduce his medication to kind of induce seizures, to kind of get enough information to pinpoint where his epilepsy is coming from. Yeah. So if there is a surgical target that could be fixed. However, we've waited nearly 3 years for this and it's been cancelled 5 times.
Why? Why is it being for what reasons?
Bed pressures, staffing. We're trying again at the end of May, so we're keeping everything crossed. But it's a lot to put the whole family through because obviously we have to prepare Cash mentally. Yeah. That's what we're going into hospital to do. And he's so desperate for a solution now that he really wants brain surgery, which is crazy to think an 11-year-old would say that.
That must be terrifying for you, the idea that you're you know, just even that idea of your 11-year-old having brain surgery or potentially having brain surgery, if that's the only option, obviously that's the route you want to go down, but also it's kind of, it must be terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, we've always, you probably can tell with this, we give Cash the options, we give him the information, it's his body. I've never ever made a choice for Cash. So even when it comes down to medications, he's experienced a lot of side effects. And again, as you'll probably hear it from a lot of epilepsy parents, sometimes the side effects are worse than the seizures.
Yeah.
So when it comes to trialing a new medication, I'm kind of at the stage where I don't want to try them anymore, but I always give him the choice and the option because it's his body and he's the one that's going through it. So when it comes to something as significant as, you know, potential brain surgery of some description, it is really hard, but the facts will be given to Cash and it's his choice. So we kind of have to keep our anxieties and our thoughts almost a bit to ourselves because, you know, ultimately you don't want to do that, but he can't. The epilepsy impacts his life so much that it's really difficult to imagine continuing like this for another 5 years. It's really hard. So yeah, it's just weighing up the options.
He made such an impression on me that day he did that film, you know, in terms of he is a resilient little boy, but he's also an emotional little boy, and he's also carrying the weight of this experience on his shoulders as well, you know, as much as you and the family are so supportive and so, you know, kind of willing to kind of to do whatever you can. He's an extraordinary little boy, but like you say, it's, you know, it affects him in so many different ways, whether that be, you know, just school, going to school, or not being able to go to school because of a seizure. You know, we talked about, you know, he's a big football fan and loves playing football, but there's sometimes, you know, the rest of the kids are going to do football camp and school holidays, and he can't because the camp won't sign him up. There's so many things that we take for granted that he isn't able to either take part in, or it affects how he takes part in it.
Yeah, 100%. So as we did on the film, he loves football. It's such an outlet for him. Every day he's just playing football. So even, you know, mums, we sign our kids up to these summer camps in the holidays. That's what the kids love to do it, but we don't have that option with Cash because unfortunately there are people that there's still a stigma attached to epilepsy. So as you know, we found out with our local football camp, Cash wasn't allowed to go because he has epilepsy. So then I'm always very honest with him. So he asked me why, so I explained, and he was just like, but why not? Why can't they just educate themselves? And that's really what it boils down to. So yeah, we've been really lucky to work with Young Epilepsy, and they kind of have helped him navigate the discrimination that he's faced. But yeah, I think that's a big point. A lot of people do take a lot of things for granted, like a day at school. So most kids would be like, yeah, I get a day off. Cash is at the stage now where last year he missed 43 days of his education, and he's crying to go to school. He doesn't want to miss any more school. But like I said to you, there's just not, it's just accepted. He's missed school because he's got epilepsy and he's had a seizure. It just feels a bit tough. He's just kind of left to survive. So it's very difficult.
Well, I mean, that sounds like it's a big kind of discrimination against him, but what would you say are the kind of your experience of the kind of the biggest stigmas and the biggest kind of discriminations around, you know, Cash having epilepsy that you've seen or you're experiencing, still experiencing?
Well, like I said to you, Cash has focal epilepsy. So again, from our experience, not many people even know anything about focal epilepsy. If you mention epilepsy, straight away people just think back to films they've seen, and it's your usual tonic-clonics on the floor, people unconscious and jerking. So there's a lot of people that haven't even seen a focal seizure or know anything about focal seizures. So the stigma attached to that, so constantly having to explain Cash's epilepsy and his type and what his seizures do for him. He has prolonged seizures as well. So his longest seizure has been an hour and a half. So he's just been stuck in a seizure. Yeah. So and having to explain that to people, they don't always understand, whether that be teachers. He's had a teacher once that phoned me and said, oh, well, he wasn't fully unconscious. So I was trying to make him do his times tables during a seizure. And it was kind of a bit of like a head slap moment. You're just thinking, please listen to what we're trying to teach you. Because epilepsy is so vast, it's so unique to every sufferer, and especially focal epilepsy. So that's kind of been quite a tough thing that we've had to overcome. Yeah, whether it be even like I've said, when we've been into A&E with Cash before because he's had a prolonged seizure and we just want to get him checked over. Even A&E doctors don't have a vast enough knowledge to sometimes deal with a focal seizure because they don't experience them enough or they've not seen them enough. They might cover the basics, but yeah, we're constantly kind of feel like we're stuck in limbo.
Yeah.
School are good in that they keep Cash safe. They're great in that sense. But when it comes to, okay, well, this kid's missed a hell of a lot of his education, maybe we need to implement some catch-up classes or think about his nurture and his mental health. There's nothing there. And I think that's a real shame because everybody is fighting for children at the minute, whether that be for SEND needs or, you know, different disabilities. But we just find with epilepsy, it's so misunderstood and there's not enough provision out there for children like Cash, and it's really such a shame. Obviously, we want him to fulfill his full potential. He's such a bright kid. He's got dreams like everybody else. So we're just fighting in that corner as little as we can to, you know, just get out there.
What are the things that, you know, what do you want to happen? What can people do? What do you need to happen? What's the ask? What do you need?
Well, I just think people need to talk about it more. So just something as simple like Cash's friendship group. So his close friends, he will be invited over for tea. But if he meets a new friend, they wouldn't invite Cash over for tea or for a play date or a sleepover. He's never had a sleepover because people are scared. And actually, I think we just need to have more of these frank conversations because it's, you know, it's scary. But once you've got it out there and discussed it, it's actually quite, you can deal with it, you know. So I think, and even people just taking the time to realise that there's a lot more to epilepsy than you would even imagine.
If say I was a new mom at your school and I was like, okay, I want to learn and I want to know what I need to do and what I need to be aware of to have Cash over for a sleepover, what can you teach them? What are the things they need to know to be, to keep them safe, you know?
Yeah, so I mean, again, like referring back to young epilepsy, they have so much information. There's so much information to hand that you can easily just pick off your phone. But I'm very open. I'm like, do you want to read Cash's care plan? That's the best way for you to learn about his individual needs. We're really lucky in that Cash usually gets a warning before he has a seizure. So that's been our saving grace. I hope that never goes. But yeah, so I'm just really open and I tell everybody what I can because I just think if we can educate even our small community, the next time they meet another child like Cash, not going to be so much of a big deal. They'll just be like, okay, right, we understand this. Because he just wants to do exactly the same as everybody else.
We were also having a kind of a discussion, you know, before we came on to this as well about the kind of the different meds that are either being tested or they're kind of, you know, they might be on the markets in other parts of the world and stuff. And I know that that's something that you're really kind of passionate about, it being available and it being something like you say, it's like you have to find the right mix for Cash for it to be able to work with him. And until you get to try those things, you don't know if they're going to work.
So at the minute, Cash is on 3 medications twice a day, and he has a rescue medication as well for when he has prolonged seizures. And he's still having weekly seizures. As you know, last week he had 17. So we don't know what we're going to get each week. At the minute, the only thing that we have left to try is medical cannabis. But in this country, there's so many legislations over it. So there's many families in our situation where there's children even having kind of up to 200 seizures a day that are desperate to try this medical cannabis because it's the last thing left to try. And as a country, we don't do that. There's so many loopholes and we're producing so much medical cannabis and it's not being registered or legalized. So it's just not being used. However, there's so many research papers. Cash's neurologist from his specialist hospital has even said, you know, he thinks medical cannabis could potentially be really beneficial for Cash. However, for us to get it prescribed, Cash has to have a certain type of epilepsy, and there's only one type now that they currently prescribe it for. So it's really, really difficult, and it's frustrating because it just feels like that could be our pot of gold. That could be the thing that works for Cash, and it's kind of in reach, but it's not quite. We're still trying to push it, because I think, you know, we're in this situation where there's so many families that are having to pay for their own supply of medical cannabis to try it, and you're looking at £1,000 to £2,000 a month. That's how much it costs. But we've seen such a huge success rate. So for me, I'm so keen to try it and put something that's more natural into his body than half of the medications that he's used. So even some of the ones he's on at the minute, they're used for like psychosis and schizophrenia as well. So if you can imagine even putting that into your child's body, and from when he was, you know, 6, 7 years old, it's really hard to keep wanting to try these medications with awful side effects. So yeah, I just think more could be done on that front, and we're just keeping everything crossed that things progress, and more treatments do become available.
Okay. Well, we should do this more regularly and just kind of keep talking about it, and you know, in between that as well, sort of try and find out, for me anyway, find out more ways that we can try and, you know, whether it's bringing someone else into the conversation, that we can, you know, kind of continue talking about it. I know you've got to go and pick your girls up from dancing, so I'm conscious about keeping you too long, my darling. How's Cash today?
Yeah, he's good. He's got his charity football match this weekend with his team, Ashridge Park Royals, so they're so excited. Every year, I mean, even that, it just makes my heart so happy. He does all of this charity work despite not having seizure control himself. So they've got a charity match this weekend to just spread the message that football is for all. And he's playing another team that have another epilepsy sufferer. So that it's such like, it's a really, it's a bit of a heartfelt one this weekend. So he's really excited and just trying to raise some money for young epilepsy and help them with their wonderful work that they're doing. And just to say thank you for their support. So yeah, he's really excited for that. And yeah, he's just happy at the minute. He's having quite a positive week, but I never want to speak too soon because we never know. And then he's got the dreaded SATs next week. So we'll see what that brings. I know.
Oh man, we'll tell him I'm in Manchester tonight. I'm doing a thing for
saw that he's going to be.
He's going to love it. It's called 99, and it's the treble, the year of the treble. So it's a film for each trophy that they won. So the Premier League, the FA Cup, and then the Champions League. So it's out on, I think it's out on the 17th. So he'll love it.
Yeah,
love it.
I will tell him.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Well, listen, let's keep in touch and let's try and do another one of these as well. And you know, I'll speak to young epilepsy as well, because it might be nice to kind of bring them in as well, and we can, you know, maybe answer some questions from people as well about things. And just like you say, like it's important to be talking. So the more we can do this, the more we can have that conversation out there.
Yeah, definitely. And if we can just say, if anyone wants to hop over onto Young Epilepsy's page, they've got a really important petition at the minute. Just to, I don't know, you've probably seen some of the work that Cash has done with them, but they're really trying to fight because 1 in 3 children don't receive the support that they need at school at the minute with epilepsy. So they've got a petition over on their social media that we really need signatures for. It's so important. And obviously we're experiencing that, like we're living proof of the children that are struggling. So great to support that work. And
please get over then Young Epilepsy site if you can, guys. I'll put it in the link on this as well, so it's there easy for people to click through to. And I'll speak to you soon, Kelly. Give my love to Cash, please.